أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتدي ولا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمد عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجا وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. We give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most beneficent God, the most merciful God. We bear witness that there is no God worthy to be worshipped except Allah. And we testify that Prophet Muhammad, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, is his last and final messenger. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides to the right path, there is no one that can lead that person astray. And whoever he leads to stray, there is no one to guide that person to the right path. And again, we say that, and we pray and we bear witness that there is no God worthy to worship except Allah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower his blessings upon our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As to what follows, today's khutbah will be a very sensitive khutbah. And the reason why it is sensitive is because of the happenings that have been going on across the Ummah, not just one community, across the Ummah as a whole. Talk about Muslims in America, Muslims in Africa, in Europe, in Australia, and so on. Wherever you look at Muslim communities, this phenomenon that I want to talk about is something that is happening, and we as an Ummah, we have to nip it in the bud. If we don't nip it in the bud, again, we would not be that emblem of success that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has slated us to be for all of mankind. And I'm going to take a short phrase from Surah An-Nisa. I'm not going to read the entire verse, because the beginning of the phrase, or the beginning statement in that verse really captures what we should be talking about and how we should be looking at certain situations in our life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah An-Nisa, says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ar-Rijal Qawwamuna 'ala An-Nisa. I'm not going to read the entire verse because the focus of my khutbah today is just to talk about Ar-Rijal Qawwamuna 'ala An-Nisa. Allah tells us in this verse that men are the qawwam for the women. Men are the qawwam for the women. And inshallah, we're going to spend time today just talking about what it means that men are the qawwam for the women. Again, a quick disclaimer. Again, this topic will be sensitive for many people. All right, because we're going to be talking about rights and responsibilities. Right? And I know that I'm focusing on the men and I'm not talking about women today because we don't have enough time on the minbar to talk about women. Even the time we're going to spend here to talk about men is still not going to be enough, right? But we'll leave that of the women to our Aim in the masjid to help us with those conversations, inshallah. I feel as though the talk about women's responsibility had become too much, that we're not talking about the responsibility for men. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ar-Rijalu Qawwamun 'ala Nisa, that the men have this qawwam status over the women. Now, when we talk about qawwam, what does that mean? Allah uses the word qawwamun. What does it mean? What is the meaning of qawwam? Again, the masdar of the word is qawwam, and it does share a similar masdar. When we say masdar, a source where something is coming from, the origin where something is coming from, it shares a similar foundation with one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala known as Qayyum. The most strongest and favorite verse of all Muslim is Ayatul Kursi, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us there, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyu al-qayyum. So the foundation of Qayyum and the foundation of Qawwam is where this word is derived from. When Allah says, men are the Qawwamun, in plural, over the women. So we see that the responsibility that we're going to be talking about, inshallah, is a sacred responsibility, and is tied to the name, the origin of one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, we're going to talk about responsibility. We're not going to talk about rights. We're going to talk about responsibility. We're not going to talk about rights. Because I am of the opinion that we men, we have neglected our responsibilities, and we're focusing on our rights, and we're constantly asking for our rights. That is why we see many of the fitan that we see on earth today, many of the challenges, the trials and tribulations that start from the nuclear household, just from the home. It's because of the fact that the man is not demonstrating the attributes of what it means to be a qawwam. We all want to talk about our rights. Well, she didn't give me my rights. Why should I carry out my responsibilities? It's not dependent on her giving you your rights. It's Allah that's saying this is your responsibility. So it's a servitude to Allah, not to her. And when we talk about Nisa, I don't want us to confine the meaning of Nisa to just be wives. Our mothers fall under that category. Our sisters fall under that category. Our daughters fall under that category. A lot of us think that when our sisters get married, done. They're not my responsibility no more. They are still your responsibility. A lot of us think, well, since I got married, I don't need to worry about my mom anymore. Well, she's your mom. She falls on that Nisa. Allah did not say, Ar-Rijal Qawwamuna 'ala Zawj. He didn't say the wife. He says men. men. He didn't say husband over wife. It says men over women. Men have a qawwam responsibility over women. A lot of people would loosely translate it as men are in charge of women. Very wrong. Very, very wrong. Let me break the ice. Let you know something. And I'm trying to be as casual with sensitive topic as I can. The fact that you were born a male, you have 1,001 responsibilities. The male figure has 1,001 responsibilities. And this starts right from when Prophet Adam alayhi salam, I expect you to say alayhi salam, when Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that responsibility after they were kicked out of Jannah. And we all know what they did, right? Now we talk about rights and responsibilities. There are two major types. The rights and responsibilities that we have towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And then we talk about the rights and responsibilities to humans or people on earth. So it could be hukuk jiran, for example, rights and responsibilities for our neighbor, or for our family members, our fellow Muslims, right? This is a very, very serious topic, because if we're falling short in our responsibility, then we're not giving someone else their rights. And then specifically with this verse, we're going to be focusing on that of the woman, that of the woman, that of the daughter, that of the sister, that of the mother, right? So when the Quran uses the word, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word qawwam, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala implying here? The scholars have explained that the word qawwam can be used to represent multiple things. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that men are the qawwam over the women, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining, just one of the ideas that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to pick from that word qawwam is that we are qiyamun. We have a guardianship responsibility, not a boss, a guardian, a stewardship responsibility, a trustee responsibility. So if a woman wants to get married, she needs a wali. And the wali cannot be another woman, it has to be a man. So many of us, let me come from the angle of the wife this time, many of us have taken wives, and we don't know the implication of taking wives. It implies that we're relieving the father of the woman that we're marrying, we're relieving the father of his responsibilities, and now we're taking on those responsibilities. So however the father would have pampered and catered for his daughter, we would do more, because this same woman that we're taking, she would now give birth to our children. So we gotta treat her more. All of the guardianship and protective responsibility that the father has, we have now taken it and adopted it, and we've accepted those responsibilities. That's what it means. It's not about sleeping on the bed and having fun. Yes, we'll get that. However, we have a responsibility to guard the women in our lives. And if we're not doing that, we're not following the injunction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's start looking at ourselves. How many times do we go against what we know is the fact that we should do, because the woman did something that we don't like? We relieve them, or we hold our responsibility because they did something. For us to carry out this responsibility, it's not dependent on the woman giving us our rights. No, it's dependent on our obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So are we the true guardian for the women in our life, especially our wives? They left the comfort of their father's home to decide to come live with us and build our own homes for us. They're going to have children for us, and the children will carry our own last name and not their own last name. They go through labor, they go through pain. And then, do we truly guard them? Do we truly protect them? Do we demonstrate respect? Allah tells us in the Quran that when we marry them, Allah tells us that we are, the fathers are taken from us on oath of contract that is strong. It's not a joke. Marriage is not a joke. And now we've taken these women into our homes and we're mistreating them. We've taken these women into our homes and we're treating them like slaves. We've taken these women into our homes and many of them are suffering psychological abuse because of what we do to them. And then when we hear women fight and talk about feminism, we try to condemn that. What about our own bad behaviors? What about you and I not holding up to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked us to do? So one of the meaning is that the man would be the guardian of the woman. Another meaning that the scholars explain that's derived from qawamun is Iwan. Iwan is like the pillars. You see the pillars we see in the masjid? These pillars? They are the foundation, the basis that's holding the structure of the family units. The man should be the foundation of the family, not leaving all of the work to the woman, not leaving all the responsibility for the woman to carry. That's not her job. Because Allah has given the man the responsibility to be able to struggle and strive and make things meet. Not the woman. At some point, they break. It's our responsibility. The women are to maintain the house, but they're not the qiwam for the house. The men are the qiwam for the house. So the maintenance, the provision for the house, paying the bills, is the man's responsibility. But how many men today have subjected their wives to go out and go work because they want to share the bills together? The family units should live within the means of the husband, not joints. If you can afford only 2 or 3 bedrooms, stay there. Don't subject a woman to start working and now you guys are sharing the bills. You're giving her some of the responsibility. That is not her responsibility. If she decides to help, alhamdulillah. But you and I need to realize that this is our responsibility. We need to realize that. And if we're not doing it, there's some questions that we got to answer in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Men are the pillars of the house, the pillars, the backbone of the family. And if we're not doing what we need to do, then we are exposing our women to things that they should not be doing. We cannot force our women to work. If they want to work, alhamdulillah, but we cannot force them to work. And when they do earn, that is for them. Their earnings is for them. I know you might not like what I'm saying, but we got to throw out all of the culture that we've learned. And we have to stick with the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. If we truly want to be the Ummah that would change all of the fitna that we see on earth, we have to go back to the Sunnah. And we, the Muslim men, we need to be able to stand with our back straight. Because we see what is happening in our society today. They're dumbing down the value of a man. And that's not my topic today. I'm not going to go there. I don't want to deviate from my topic. But our society is dumbing down the value of a man. If you exhibit the qualities of a man, they look at you as being tyrannical, or as being harsh, or as being mean. But that's not the case. The Muslim man is the example of what a man should be. Can we truly call ourselves men? Would our wives and daughters and mothers truly look at us and say we're the real men? The way we treat them? Another example that we can coin out from the word qawamun, the scholars have said is qima. Qima. Qima is the thamanu shay, is the value of something, is the worth of something. Our wives get their value from how we treat them. Our wives get their worth from how we speak with them, how we relate with them. We're supposed to praise them and encourage them to excel in whatever they want to do. But how many of us today look at our wives and say, man, you too fat, you too black, look at your tummy, look at this, look at that. We are quick to judge them and call out the fault that we see in them, but we forget that same stomach that we're causing bore our children. We forget that they left aside their own wishes and the things that they wanted to do in life to satisfy us and give us children. But we're going to turn around and cuss them out. We're going to turn around and talk bad to them. If we do not value our own women in our homes, how do we then expect the society out there to value them? If we do not give them the respect that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them, how do we expect our society to give them that respect? If we do not honor them and raise them in the higher pedestal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given them, guess what? The society out there will not do it. I don't need to start quoting verses from the Quran or from the Sunnah. This is something that you and I know that we're not doing. So let's talk straight. Let's talk straight. There's a gap in the way we're treating our women. We need to change that. Our children see the way we treat our women. And many of us have daughters. Would we truly like for our daughter's husband, when they get married in the future, inshallah, would we truly like for them, for those men that are going to marry our daughters, would we truly like for them to treat our daughters the same way we are currently treating their mothers, our wives? Many of us would say no. So why are you treating someone else's daughter that way, in that manner? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us restructure our mind and follow the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us in this way of reviving, in this journey where we go through reviving the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask Allah to make the best of our days, the last of our days. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين واستغفرهم إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين إن العاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمد عبده ورسوله. Brothers and sisters in Islam, the three major challenges that our sisters are going through today, and we hear this buzzword, we might think it's a buzzword, but we hear it happening a lot where people talk about mental health, right? Mental health is a serious thing. And many of our sisters, many of our daughters, many of our mothers, many of our wives have gone through mental health disorder because of the way we treat them at home. Many of them come home and they park outside and they take a deep breath because they know whenever they step into the house and we're home, another challenge, another problem, another. That is what we have caused. And I'm not saying women are perfect, but today's lecture is just to focus on how men can revive the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to make the home a living Jannah on earth. If we cannot make our home a living Jannah on earth, our wives would suffer it, we would suffer it in return, and that's what our children will learn. And they will think that's the way to live. And then when they get married, guess what? It continues. It continues. Many of us have heard this saying that if you give a woman a house, it turns the house into what? A home, right? If you give a woman groceries, she turns the groceries into food. If you give a woman what comes out of a man, I don't know if your children here. If you give a woman what comes out of a man, guess what? She gives you children. If you give her negative energy, guess what? Your house is going to turn into hell. So it starts from you and I first. We need to stop the physical abuse of our women, because this is causing psychological defeat. It's causing psychological trauma. Many of them would not come out and speak up about it because they see it to be a shameful thing to talk about the fact that they get beat up at home by their husbands. But within the cycles of women, they have these conversations. The Prophet ﷺ told us in an hadith, he says, "La tadribu ima Allah." Do not beat, do not strike with your hands the slaves of Allah, the female slaves of Allah. So Allah, the Prophet did not, he didn't say, "La tadribu azwajikum." Do not beat your wives. He didn't say that. He says, do not beat the female slaves of Allah. It means we don't own them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala owns them. So when we do beat them, who's going to come after us? Allah. Allah is going to come after us. A clear example, you got a car. Someone breaks your car. They break the windshield in your car, for example. The car is not going to get angry. Who's going to get angry? You, that you're the owner of the car. So when we beat the Imam Allah, the female slaves of Allah, who's going to get angry? Allah. And do we truly want the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We don't. Be careful about the things that you do, the things that you say. And we can talk about another one, emotional abuse. Women are emotional, men are logical. Not everything that sounds logical to you should come out of your mouth, because the way and manner you say it might cause an emotional abuse for the female. So Allah is telling us to become qawamun. We should start putting ourselves in their shoes. If the same thing is said to us in that manner, how would we feel about it? We need to revive the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And the most dangerous, because of time, I'm gonna stop here with one more example. And the example is talking about spiritual abuse. And this is the most dangerous type of abuse. And I'm not talking about jinn or someone going to a witch doctor to do something. No, that's not what I'm talking about. When I speak of spiritual abuse, what I'm talking about is we do something wrong, and then we turn around and look for a Quranic verse to back up our bad behavior. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. This khutbah is not meant for us, especially the sisters. I know I can hear their voice in the back. This khutbah is not meant for them to get home and grab this video or the recording and show it to the husband and say, hey, you see, watch what the imam said. This is not what this is meant for. All right, because if we started with the women, it's going to be a lot to talk about too. All right, but the hope is that we all look into our individual marriages and try to rectify the affairs in our homes, because a stronger home will breed a stronger community. If our homes are weak, guess what? Our community will be weak. We will not be able to effect change, and our children would leave the religion. May Allah save us from that. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا أعز الإسلام والمسلمين ربنا قوم لنا ولا تكن علينا. ربنا انصرنا نصرا عزيزا. ربنا افتح لنا فتحا مبينا. ربنا زدنا ولا تنقصنا يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. قوموا إلى صلاتكم يرحمكم الله.